Good morning, everyone. How are we all this morning? I hope we're all well. We'll quick look to see who's in. Melanie's in, Aki's in, Scott Haynes in, Stephen Bankier's in, Luke Indy's in. Graham's in. Rosemary's in. Hi, Dexter. Hi, Pete's Music. Hi, June. Hi, Heather. Hi, Linda. Margaret. We're doing the other way. Notice that Reagan Elite's on in 30 minutes. Hi, Alistair. Hi, Kit Hood. Carol. Good morning, Reagan Elite. Doug. James. Julie. 74, the Hedgers. Or the Edgers. Oh, Christ knows how to pronounce that. Morning, Hootsman. And that's me back down the bottom. It appears that No Justice has just went live as well. Right, before we go on here, folks. Yesterday we were talking about two asylum seekers who had raped a 15-year-old girl. And it appears, according to what Mark Leslie's telling me, is that I made light of it by saying their mistake. I didn't mean to make light of the heinous crime that these two boys had committed. I think the point I was trying to get to was that if it had been two white boys, it would have been regional news and no national news. But if I came across as if I was making light of the situation or the crime, I didn't mean to, so I'll put that correct right away. So if I came across as if I was making light of the crime that these two young men had committed, I apologise for that. I didn't mean to. Okie dokie. So that's that sorted out. So, Mark, I'm sorry if you thought I was making light of the situation. I didn't mean to. So if I come across that way, please accept my apology. All right, first up this morning, folks. We'll go on with it. There's the Herald. Morning, Ange. And what's the Herald got for us? A non-story, probably. Pressure grows for minister sacking in abuse row. What's this all about? Well, it goes back to September when they were debating the Victims, Witnesses and Justice Reform Bill, where Liam Kerr wanted to put through an amendment to it so that the Commissioner would need to look into every single case and inquiry or what. So during it, Angela Constantine, the Justice Secretary, Justice Minister, she quotes a Professor Alexis J. And she quotes her correctly. Now, the context of the quote was the problem. It was out of context. It wasn't what was said, it was out of context. Apparently, it only applied to England and Wales, but when I think about this debate, it was televised, and if I remember right, Angela did mention that it was England and Wales inquiry. But of course, this professor also sits in the task force here in Scotland as well, and she writes to Angela a couple of days later to say to her that was out of context. So she wasn't misleading Parliament intentionally, and the intent has got to be there for it to be a resignation situation. So I don't see what this story is all about. And there is only two rags cover it, so I think most of the rags don't think there's anything in it either. But there's a couple of screaming mad unionist papers that are covering this silly story. So we'll take the Herald, don't get shot yet, and we'll bring up the Express because that's the other one that's covering this stupid story today. They say the reason why it's a stupid story is, although what Angela had said was out of context, she wasn't deliberately trying to mislead the Parliament, and that's the important part. Now, the Luna Lag Express, it really goes to town on it. Proof Justice Minister misled Holyrood with grooming gangs stance. Liar Constance must quit over cover-up. There isn't any cover-up. It was televised. The debate. And as I say, it has to be deliberate. A deliberate attempt to mislead Parliament. According to this rag, and the rag that I've just had up before, when you read the articles, it was an email from the good professor a few days later that's the problem. Because the good professor contacts the minister and says, that was out of context. Should she have then went back to Parliament and say, hold on a minute, that was out of context? I don't know. Because she wasn't trying to mislead the Parliament. She quoted the professor correctly. But it was out of context. So we'll see where this one goes. I don't think there's much to it. As I say, because you've got to be deliberately misleading Parliament. You can inadvertently mislead Parliament and then go back and correct the record. But I don't know what the script for this one is. So we'll see where it goes. As I say, these are the only two rags that are covering it. So I think a lot of the other mainstream papers don't think very much of it. Otherwise, it would be front page right across them all. There'd be real pressure. Right. Next up, we'll get Rancid, and we don't pick that up. And it's on a Fitty story this morning. So what's the Rancid quote for us? The Rancid quote, World Cup's first dibs for loyal fans. Tartan Army ticket jackpot. And that's top supporters to get 8% of cheap briefs after SFA strikes deal with FIFA. So there you go. 8% of the ticket sales here in Scotland will be done in the cheap, apparently. And they'll go to the Tartan Army. Right, next up we'll get the Metro. What's the Metro go for us this morning? The Metro has defensive trolls for World Cup fans. US rule says that you've got to produce 5 years worth of your social media posts to customs agents in order to get in. So a gross invasion of your privacy. And if you get anything bad about Trump on your phone in the form of a meme or criticising him yourself in a post, then you're no getting in. So apparently, if you're going to World Cup next year, you've got to troll through all your social media and delete anything that was derogatory to the big orange man baby. Next up, we get a Guardian, and it's on the same story. The Guardian has visitors to US could have to reveal 5 years of social media activity. So in order to get into fascist America, you have got to prove that you haven't been rude to America's fascist dictator as you try to get into the fascist America. So just don't bother going. such a big, strong dictator as Trump that he's frightened of anybody elsewhere in the world having criticised him. Bad enough you can't criticise him in the States itself, in fascist America. But if you're anywhere else in the world and you've criticised them, then you're not getting entry into Trump's fascist state. Just don't go. I mean, he's already killed the tourist industry area. Just don't go. Save the money, stay at home. Right, after the Guardian with the Scotsman, let's put this one up. This one's a doozy. Oh, where are we? No. This one is a doozy. Pull it up. Pupil attainment figures are fiction claims top academic. Now, this top academic is Professor Lindsay Peterson of Edinburgh University. And what he's saying is that the schools and the teachers' assessments of the attainment gap are fiction. Because he says he factored in absenteeism and truancy. And I'm like, surely the teachers and the schools will have factored these things in before issuing their findings. But according to this guy, teachers and schools' assessments of pupils' attainments are fiction. Maybe his degree's fiction, because somebody had to assess his attainment in order for him to get his degree. So there you go, folks. We have not to trust our lower education institutions when it comes to assessing the attainment of our children. Only the good Professor Leslie here is fit to assess the attainment of our children, apparently. Wow. And we've got Rosemary, who is a teacher, telling us, bollocks. She's a teacher. They have to submit the evidence, all evidence. They say, I imagine that, Rosie, that the schools and you guys, the actual teachers, factor in things like absenteeism and truancy when you're putting forward your figures. But honestly, so apparently our lower and middle education tiers, primary and secondary, apparently the staff within these sections of our education departments are no fit to assess the children who they teach. I did say it was a doozy. I wonder who assessed his attainment to announce him to be a top academic. Right, next up we have the Daily Fail. This one cracks me up. This thing's supposed to be a Scottish rag, for Christ's sake, the Scottish Daily Fail. Now, what does it say? Slap on wrist for cocaine and heroin amid let's get that again. 1,262 Scots given slap on wrist for cocaine and heroin amid calls for more soft touch warnings for possession of Class A substances. SNP white flag over drug abuse. I guess this fucking rag's no been paying attention over the last 10, 12 years here in Scotland. Drug abuse, personal use here in Scotland is to be treated as a health problem, no a criminal justice problem, a health problem. It only becomes a criminal justice problem here in Scotland if you're involved in the supply of these substances. But the users, the addicts, it's a health issue. It's not a criminal justice issue. So yes, they're given slaps on the wrist and pointed in the direction of rehabilitation services. Whether they go or whether they're available is a different issue. But that's how we've decided to deal with it here. And the Daily Fail should know that if it claims to be a Scottish paper, a Scottish edition. Jesus. Non-headline, SNP bad story as we head into the election. But surely this rag will be aware, because everybody else is, that here in Scotland, addiction is to be treated as a health issue, not a criminal justice issue. Oh, fuck. I mean, there's no way to take these bloody rags to task either. None. The best we can do is turn them out when we get into the supermarket, so it's the sports pages that face out the way. Right, next up we have, it might be the Scum next actually. It is the Scum. And the Scum's on an entertainment story. Exclusive McCall's hobby number 3. Davina weds in secret. Tiny bash for cancer fight star and stylist. So apparently her new husband number 3 is a stylist of some sort. Don't know whether it's somebody advises you on how to dress or somebody fixes your hair. I don't know. Didn't look into it because I don't care enough to look into it. Right, next up we'll get the Times. What's the Times got for us today? The Times tells us that net zero plans to cost households $500 a year. And this is net zero 2050, the UK target. Apparently it is going to cost us 500 quid a year on our bills. But you know what, folks? Painful as that is, I'm afraid it's going to have to be done if the children and grandchildren are going to have a future. It's going to be painful, apparently. I don't know fucking why. But it needs to be done. It needs to be done. Morning, Andy. Enjoyed your show last night. Right, after the Times we have the National. Now, the National's on a story that's being ignored by the government and the mainstream media. And it's a bloody outrage. The UK is letting these people die. 5 hunger strikers taken to hospital, but Lammy refuses to meet MPs. Plus, the National has printed the diary of one of these people who have been jailed. Folks, these people are on hunger strike because they're political prisoners. They've been charged with civilian, with ordinary criminal charges, criminal damage and the like. But they're being held on remand. And they've been on remand forever. They're political prisoners. They're being ignored. They've just been taken out of circulation and thrown in the jail. We need due process. These people are political prisoners. And they are being ignored. So they went on hunger strike, and now 5 of them are on the edge of death, and it would appear that the government don't give a shite. The justice system doesn't give us a shite. They're going to let these people die. It's they shouldn't even be in jail. They should have been bailed after they were charged with criminal damage. But no, locked up as political prisoners. Ignored. Denied access to family and legal advice at times. Political prisoners. Political prisoners who are now in the final stage of their protest to get attention to the fact that they're being held as political prisoners. And it could be fatal. And if that's the case, Lammy's going to get charged with manslaughter. Spanner Mac, you remember when Bobby Sands was on a hunger strike? Aye, so dear. So a lot of us here. Right, doing with a national. But that's where we are in this authoritarian state heading towards fascist state. Right, next up we have the Tory graph. Falklands arms ban must end, says Miley. I think that's how it's said. Or Millie. Anyway, what's this all about? President believes that the islands will return to Argentina as he prepares to visit Britain. So the Argentinian president's on their way. Okay. But I don't know what the UK or Argentina think they're playing at. But to be fair, the UK did give the Falkland Islanders a referendum on where they would like their sovereignty to lie. And they chose to remain part of this corrupt empire. But when it comes to the UK and Argentina, they both need to get their fucking heat wrapped around this. The fate of the islands isn't in the hands of the Argentinians or the UK government. It's in the hands of the people who live on the islands. That's how it should be. Right, here we go. Still arguing about something that doesn't belong to either. Actually belongs to people who live there. It's their home. It's their decision. It's a bit like Scotland. It's our home and it's our decision, even though the power to make that decision, according to the next door neighbour, lies with them. After all, they are the ones that are charging us fucking rent to live in marine land. Right, books done. That means there's only one thing left. And that's the star. What's the star got for us today? Let's get it up. And the star has down to earth star, champ looks 50 a week, pocket money. Now apparently this darts player who the star's been trying to get a knighthood for his work with the motor neurons disease charity after the death of his friend, apparently only allows himself £50 a week pocket money. Well, good for him. I'm sure he'll have a healthy bank balance then, if he's only allowing himself £50 a week for a treat. I'm put that notion to Sarah, maybe save a few quid if I just limit her to 50 quid a week for treats her. I'd be bloody minted. Aye, Larry. Fuck a star, they called you a Russian spy. Right, folks, I've been having a look at the Christmas and New Year calendar. As I said, next Friday will be the last one until after Christmas. Well, no, actually, oh no. It'll be the last one to Christmas Day show. And then that'll be the last one, the Christmas Day show, until the 3rd of January when the papers are back in full swing and the celebrations are over. Okay, but interesting mixed bag in the papers today. Apparently our teachers in our primary education and secondary education can't assess the attainment of our children, but some professor at Edinburgh University can, even though he's never met them. Davina McCall, you married again. And the data player gives himself £50 a week pocket money. Area headlines today. Main headlines, of course, the important stuff. 7 political prisoners starve on hunger strike, near death, and still being ignored. And Trump wants to make sure you haven't been ripping the piss out of the big orange fascist in order for you to get into his fascist state. Back this afternoon. Back this afternoon. I've got a fair bit of research to do for that one, so I better go on with it. I'll be back this afternoon, 4 o'clock. All right, we'll see you then. Bye for now.